Sharon, have I ever told you about the reading problem I have? I can't read my students' writing.
Oh, Ron, your memory is so short. I remember how I used to struggle trying to read the handwriting on your letters when we were going together. That was a small sacrifice to make.
All your sweet nothings will not get these essays marked. I've got to get my nose to the grindstone. I don't want to lose face at school. I've got to finish tonight. No more interruptions.
Okay. Ron, you've slaved so hard, though. Why don't I take you out to that new deli on Corden?
That's a good idea. I'll work hard for another hour, finish this pile of papers, and then I can go with a clean conscience.
It's the deal. Back to work.
When I look back into my memory, I like to think of my dad. In a way, I grew up having two dads. One I saw 6 days a week, and the other one only on Sundays. On the farm where we lived, Sunday was different from other days. After washing up, Dad would sit down at the table with a mug of steaming hot water, a brush, and a razor. He used the hot water and brush to mix a foamy white lather which he painted all over the lower part of his face. I was always fascinated. Dad must have noticed this through the corner of his eye, because sometimes his brush would jump out and tweak me on the nose. I always jerked back too late, but I could hardly wait to check in his mirror to see what I looked like. His razor made a crisp, raspy sound as it stroked away the white shaving cream, and the leather of his cheeks came out in brown patches. I remember the experience even more because of the smells of the lather and then the shaving lotion he used to finish the job. We always went to our little country church on Sundays. Dad led the choir. I watched him closely. To me, he was impressive in his Sunday suit. Sitting next to him, I could smell the sweetness of his shaving lotion. He pretended not to notice when I dug into his side pocket for a mint. Sunday dinner was always special. Chicken, mashed potatoes with thick brown gravy, homemade bread, and jelly roll. Everyone talked. Life seemed warm and good. After the dishes were cleared away, we'd play games and munch on popcorn. The time was always too short. As the shadows got longer and the sun began to set, I knew what was coming. Chores. The animals had to be looked after in the barn. Dad's work clothes hung on a hook in the basement. They always had the strong smell of the barn on them. It was time for Dad to change from the perfectly pressed dress clothes to faded baggy overalls, from shiny black shoes to heavy brown work boots. "Why wrinkle up your nose?" he'd say to me. "You do like your bread and butter, don't you?" Well, I can hear old Betsy getting restless in the barn. And with that, he would pick up the milk pail and leave, whistling to himself. He was right. I did like the things he was providing for us. And that's why I needed two dads, a Sunday best one and a work-a-day one. Two dads? Not really. One person on the inside and two kinds of dress on the outside. and I loved him that way.
Help! Help!
Oh boy.
You gotta help me, Ron.
What happened?
I roller skate.
What's the problem? Did someone step on it and fall down the stairs?
Worse than that, my class is going roller skating tomorrow and the wheel is loose. If you don't fix it, I can't go.
If it's that serious, I'll have a look at it. That's gonna take a while. I'm sorry, I'm busy tonight. I've got all these essays to mark, and I have a date with Sharon.
But you have to, Ron. Dad's not home, so I can't ask Kim, and Mom's too busy. You're the only one who can do it. Please, Ron. Sharon, can't you make him just this once, please?
What do I do, Sharon?
Where did I read it? Love is patient and kind and...
Does not demand its own way, isn't irritable or touchy, will hardly even notice when others do it wrong. Oh, life would be a lot easier if you could avoid interruptions by just switching the channels.
Might as well sit down, Stephanie. So your class is going roller skating tomorrow.
When Charles was born 10 years ago, we thought we had this normal, healthy little baby, and he just looked bright-eyed, and at 2.5 months, here all of a sudden we were told he was totally blind. Of course, this was, really, I mean, you couldn't imagine, like the shock and everything else that went with it, but we still always had hope. Well, okay, so he's blind, but at least there's nothing else wrong with him. And then when he was supposed to start talking, he'd hum tunes completely and all that, but he never started talking, and really worried us because in every other aspect, he seemed to progress, but not in his speech. So then when Scott passed Charles, Scott was 16 months younger, then we had to accept the whole business of his handicap again, because then we really realized this boy is not going to be normal. And you erase it quickly because you think, oh, but it couldn't be. How can we manage with somebody that can't see and won't tell us anything?
Well, he's got a way of telling you what he wants, and well, he's got his favorite chair there, and if he wants to sit in it and rock, he'll get in there and he'll push you out, or else he'll pull you out, and then he'll sit down. Or if he wants to go down to jump on the trampoline, he'll just grab you and pull you as hard as he can. He'll just about knock you over. Patricia has a very unique relationship with him. She likes to do things for him. She'll take him and show him. She'll take his hand. Charles, look at this.
Charles and Scott are very much the same height, so Charles often fought with Scott and actually was quite rough with him. So Scott has learned to back off and just let him be.
Well, to be with or to handle Charles, you need a lot of patience because he doesn't catch on like the others do, and if you want to teach him something, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. I think we had to come to accept that God doesn't make any mistakes, and he put Charles into our life for a reason. And even though it's really a lot harder, but he's there for some reason. And even if in this life he'll never maybe be the way other children are, that there's a time coming when he's going to be like everybody else.
Without our friends, I know it would have been much, much harder. But one thing I also know is that we had to let our friends know when we needed help, because if they didn't know, they couldn't help us.
Our church here has been very supportive to us ever since Charles was found out to be blind. They supported us very much in prayer and in help.
I've sung this song, "'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus." And after a really discouraging time, I woke up in the night and I could just sense these two voices or whatever. One said, you know, now you really have reason to be a martyr, or to really feel sorry for yourself. And another voice said to me, trust me. That's all I expect. Just trust me. And that was just so beautiful, because I could really see, you know, God was right there. Charles has enriched our lives in a way that we couldn't even imagine. And so we can really be thankful for the opportunities that God has given us through him.
This is so nice of you, Ron.
Ow!
What's the matter? What'd you do?
I just about took off my finger, little girl, that's all.
Quick, Sharon. Ron needs a Band-Aid. Quick.
Have a look here.
Does it hurt?
Let's see.
Is it bleeding?
Here. Where did I put that?
There you are.
There they are.
Let me put it on.
Okay. There you go.
Be careful.
There is a war on. Inside some people there is a conflict, and it's killing their soul. There is a battle of fear and frustration, a brokenness that needs to be made whole. They need a peacemaker with a loving hand. Yes, a peacemaker who will show them God's plan. Oh, a peacemaker who will understand and help them be healthy again. There is rebellion inside some people, a fight against God and doing his will. There's revolution to prove you're somebody, a restlessness that needs to be made still. They need a peacemaker with a loving hand. Yes, a peacemaker who will show them God's plan. Oh, a peacemaker who will understand and help them be healthy again. There is a crisis inside some people, a confrontation with standards and rules, a crippling combat with losses and failures, a death wish and disease in every dew. They need a peacemaker with a loving hand. Yes, a peacemaker who will show them God's plan. Oh, a peacemaker who will understand and help them be healthy again. So be a peacemaker with a loving hand. Yes, a peacemaker who will show them God's plan. Be a peacemaker who will understand, and you will have peace, my friend.
There. That looks like it'll hold it. You've got to treat it very carefully, Stephanie.
Hey, that's great. Thanks, Ron.
No sweat.
Bye, Sharon.
Bye, Stephanie.
Thanks again, Ron.
We'll see ya.
Bye-bye.
Making sacrifices for others is one of the hardest things for people to do. Insects do it in some very interesting ways. Take honeybees, for instance. A biologist talks about them.
Honeybees are social insects. They live together in large colonies, working together for the common good of the hive. As is well known, honeybees produce a sweet substance known as honey, which is very attractive to a wide range of animals. We are all familiar with the marauding bear, which will attack a beehive. or man himself who domesticates honeybees and takes their honey. This honey is very necessary for the survival of the honeybee colony, as it is the necessary food for rearing the young honeybees. It is also the food supply which will provide the bees with the necessary nourishment throughout the winter months when they are unable to forage and gain pollen and nectar to produce the honey. To protect this all-important food supply, honeybees will attack any intruder that does not have the smell of the hive. One example of this is the bumblebee, which very commonly will try to gain entrance and steal honey from the beehive. The honeybee is much smaller than the bumblebee and yet will fearlessly attack the bumblebee in defense of the hive and to protect the food store of honey which they have collected. Several of the much smaller bees will completely surround the bumblebee so as to form a ball of bees around the bumblebee, stinging and in the process losing their life in defense of the hive.
This act of sacrifice, although it has caused the death of some of the bees, will protect this food source on which the entire colony depends for its livelihood. The honeybee's sacrificial action to save the honey may be instinctive, but man can stop and think about his actions and make value judgments. There is something very noble about what the honeybee does, and there's a lesson in it for man.
Sharon, what's going through your mind after all that?
I'm having a bit of a struggle here. I guess it's silly getting so upset with someone coming in like that and changing our plans, especially someone who's so demanding.
I have to admit, I was looking forward to our little date.
Me too.
Changing plans wasn't easy.
Many people don't realize what God has been doing for them. They go their own way day after day, not knowing that He cares for them very deeply. God has a son. His name is Jesus. No one knows the love of God like Jesus does. That's because Jesus has always been there with God and is God too. There was a time when God's Son was called upon to make a big move, to go down to earth. Now for Jesus, that would have to be a big sacrifice, a long step down. Heaven is a place so wonderful that you can't describe it, and there's a lot of activity. When the universe was created and earth was formed, Jesus was there. He was a part of the action because He is God. So He could have resented the idea of leaving it all to come down to this little planet Earth to take on a human body. But He made the move. He did not cling to the privileged position He had in heaven. He became a human being, even though He did not cease to be God. Two people in one. His coming to earth is what we sometimes call the Christmas story. Here on earth, a few people welcomed Him. Some of them liked Him for the neat things He could do, like walking on water or turning water into wine. Others found Him to be tough, very tough, in the things He did and said. He pointed out their sins. Some people didn't like that. Others listened to Him when He told them to repent, to make a turnaround in their lives. He forgave the sins of people who wanted to be forgiven. There were some people who didn't believe Him and began to hate Him, to the point where they tried to kill Him. One day they hung Him on a cross, and He died there. For the people He loved. It became the sacrifice to pay for the sins we have done. God put our punishment on His Son. Jesus died for us. But you can't stop God's love. He didn't leave His Son to decay in a grave. He brought Him back to life again. It's the greatest miracle, and it makes a great turnaround possible for us. It's there for us to accept as a gift. Freedom from fear and guilt, a new life of love, joy, and peace. We need to turn from our selfish ways to this new life. How will you respond?
Is that someone at the door? It can't be. At this time? What's
Oh,
this?
Stephanie.
It's past your bedtime.
This is for the both of you. I had to hurry with the icing, so it's not very good.
Oh, it looks good to me.
Ah, very
Aw,
good.
Stephanie, that's really sweet of you.
You know, Stephanie, I have to admit I had some bad feelings before when you came and interrupted us. But I really like the way you've done it this time. Why don't you join us? Have a seat. Do you have a knife, Cher?
Oh, yeah, I'll get one.
Friend, have you ever wondered why Jesus died? Why he laid his power and rights aside? Coming as a servant, he took the pain. There is mighty hope and love for you to gain. Who would leave a kingdom for a hostile land? Trade a land of riches for a shed? Who would leave the praises of adoring crowds? Bear the scorn of hateful men instead? Leave a kingdom for a crown of thorns? Who could follow through with such a plan? Making such a rare and startling sacrifice, Jesus died to save the sinful man. Friend, have you ever wondered why Jesus died? Why he laid his power and rights aside? Coming as a servant, he took the pain. There is mighty hope and love for you to gain.
He's been working like that for a long time now. I think he's struggling with something. As a matter of fact, I'm sure he's struggling with something. What he needs is a break with a Third Story magazine. Just the thing for encouragement when frustration strikes. It has a lot of stories that appear on the programs, songs, things to do, and other interesting features. Something for the whole family. Write for it today. It's free. And if you'd like to tell us something about yourself and your experiences, we'd be glad to hear from you. Write to The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. That's The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba.